Hey everyone, and welcome. So today we are diving deep into a really cool idea. What if the secret to real creativity isn't about picking a side, logic versus emotion or strength versus softness? What if it's actually about blending them all together? We're going to explore this idea that creativity is like a kind of alchemy, transforming these so-called opposites into something totally new and powerful. Let's get into it.
It all kicked off from this one simple but really powerful thought. The idea that just one piece of art, a single moment of connection, can totally flip the script on how you see, well, everything. And for the author whose work we're digging into today, that's exactly what happened. And this was the question that started the whole journey. After seeing a particular artist's work, the author was left with this huge question. And it's a question that goes way beyond art, right? It challenges the very way we think about who we are and the society we live in. So, to really get this, we've got to start right where the author did, with the incredibly powerful art of a painter who wasn't afraid to challenge everything. So who was this artist? His name was Bhupen Khakkar, an amazing modern Indian painter. And you have to remember the context here. He was working in post-independence India and at the same time was grappling with his own identity as a gay man. His art, particularly this coming-of-age series he did, was just so groundbreaking because he owned who he was with so much dignity and power. He just refused to let society's hang-ups water down his creative vision. And this is the huge revelation that Khakkar's art just unlocked. It's this realization that masculine and feminine, they aren't these rigid genetic boxes you're born into. Nope. The idea is that they're more like fluid energies that exist inside every single one of us, and they shift and blend and dance around depending on the situation. Okay, so that brings us to the next big question. If these energies are so naturally fluid, why on earth does our society work so hard to shove them into these tiny, rigid boxes? What are these forces that are drawing these lines all around us?
Well, the essay we're exploring gives these forces a name: power-hungry ideologues. And you can probably think of a few examples, right? It's any system, whether it's political or religious, that keeps control by creating these us versus them divides. They often tap into our very human need for certainty and clear-cut rules, and then they enforce these rigid roles that, surprise, surprise, benefit their agenda, not our own complex, messy, beautiful nature.
And what's fascinating is, this isn't just a modern thing or a Western thing. You see this pattern everywhere. So many ancient traditions, from Yin and Yang in China to Nara Nari in India, they originally saw these energies as this beautiful complementary dance. But over time, societal pressures came in, and these amazing complex ideas got kind of flattened out, frozen into these simple, often unequal roles, like the builders versus the nurturers.
Okay, but this whole idea, it isn't just about culture or philosophy. Turns out, if you look really closely, nature itself is telling us the exact same story. The binary, it's a human invention, not a hard and fast rule of biology. Check out this number. Roughly 1 in every 1,500 people is born intersex. That means their biological traits don't fit neatly into the typical male or female boxes. And this isn't some rare anomaly, you guys. This is a totally natural part of human biology, and it's powerful proof that life just loves to exist on a spectrum. And get this, that same natural diversity, it's literally the fuel for creativity. Psychologists have been onto this for a while. J.P. Guilford's work on cognitive flexibility basically proved that the more different perspectives you can juggle in your head, the more innovative you're going to be. And then you have Donald Hebb's work on neuroplasticity, which shows our brains physically change and rewire based on our experiences. So diversity isn't just a nice social idea, it literally makes our brains more creative.
So what's the bottom line here? Fluidity isn't just some nice idea or a philosophical concept. It's a biological fact. It's a psychological reality. It's written into our DNA and hardwired into how our brains work. All right, so we've looked at the personal spark, the societal pressure, and the science behind it. Now let's get to the heart of it all, what the essay calls creativity's alchemical secret. This is where it all comes together. The first piece of the puzzle is a concept from Vedanta philosophy called duality. All it means is the duality we see all around us: male and female, light and dark, action and rest. But here's the key part. Duality isn't a problem that needs to be solved. It's just the way things are. It's the natural state of the world we live in. And for every duality, there's its counterpart, ekant. So if duality is the world of two, of all these visible opposites,
Ekant is the deeper truth. It's the singular, unified reality that connects everything. It's the idea that underneath all that seeming opposition, there's a fundamental oneness. And right here, this is the big secret. This is the whole shebang. Real true creativity is the alchemy that happens when we don't just see the duality, but we actively blend those opposing forces together. It's the art of taking the world of Dvitya, with all its separate parts, and transforming it into the unified truth of Ekant. And you can see this alchemy at play in some of the most brilliant minds in history. Look at Gandhi. He fused this incredibly strong, unwavering resolve with a profound sense of peace to create something completely new, nonviolent resistance. Or Alan Turing, who wove together rigid mathematical logic with this wild, unconventional intuition to crack the Enigma code. And of course, Bhupen Khakkar, the artist who kicked this whole thing off for us, blended his deeply personal identity with a sense of universal dignity to make art that speaks to everyone.
All right, so this is all really cool, but what do we do with it? How does this apply to you and me? This last part is all about taking this huge idea and bringing it home, igniting those alchemical forces in our own lives.
So here it is, the ultimate takeaway. The whole point is to internalize this dance of duality, to see it as your own essence. It means you get to embrace your ambition and your empathy, your logic and your intuition, all without the rigid, suffocating labels that society's always trying to stick on you.
And that leaves us with one last really important question, a question for you. When you decide to embrace all of your intermingled forces, when you become the alchemist of your own nature, what incredible, amazing spark will you ignite?